welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today I'm going to make a response video to the release of the new Tudor Pelagos 39 wristwatch, which just came out much earlier this week. Now, I had no intention of making a video on this watch. However, not an hour ago, I happened on my journey through life to pass a Tudor boutique in the city near where I live, and I popped in just to have a look what was on display, and sure enough, they had the new Pelagos 39 demonstration model for people to look at, try on and see. And I availed myself of that opportunity to handle the watch, touch it, wear it, talk to the sales agents about it, and I thought I would use this brief opportunity to give you my observations on that piece in case you're interested in it and thinking about it. Because the Tudor Pelagos, or the original Tudor Pelagos as we have to call it now, celebrates its 10th anniversary in 2022. It was released in 2012, and since that time it has occupied the position in the luxury watch world of being one of the few diving watches which you could actually take diving, because it is Tudor's technical dive watch. It has a water resistance of 500 meters. It's got a helium escape valve. It's made of grade 2 titanium, making it practical and tough and hardy and very lightweight. So it's a real business piece, a utility watch. And for that reason, and particularly the fact that it was a 42mm case size in diameter, and it was quite thick at, I think it was about 14mm thick. Do you know what, as a watch consumer myself, and somebody who enjoys the dive watches of the world, you know, I own a Tudor Black Bay, I own a Rolex Submariner, so I'm interested in dive watches, but I discounted the Pelagos as a potential purchase because of its size. All right, 42mm is just that touch too big for me. I don't go over 40mm these days because I've got a 6.5-inch wrist, and I prefer my watches to offer proportionate comfort for me. So that Pelagos, 42mm, 14mm thick, it was simply too large. So I utterly forgot about it. However, earlier this week, just 2 days ago, Tudor unexpectedly announced a new model, a Pelagos 39mm watch, and it came a bit left of centre. And when I called into the authorised dealers today and had a chat with them, even they were somewhat wrong-footed. They did not know that this piece was being released by Tudor. And what they've essentially done is introduced a watch which was mostly known for being the technical diving capability watch within their range, and it's been reduced down to something which pretty much anybody could now consider placing on their wrist. So let's talk about some of the specifics just to get that out of the way. So the first thing you really want to know, it's in the name, it's a 39mm watch, and that is the absolute sweet spot for just about everybody's wrist, because I tried this watch on, and at 39mm and just, I think it's 11.8mm thick, it is, oh, it's so well fitting for my 6.5-inch wrist. It is almost as if that watch was made for my wrist. I would also go as far to say, though, that, you know, if your watch is between, your wrist rather, is between 5.5 inches and say 7.5 inches, this watch is going to be a good fit for you. Such is the wonderful, the dimensions of that 39mm watch. And as I say, its thickness, touch over 11.5mm, means its profile on the wrist is quite low. It is, well, it just wears so exceptionally well. It's made of grade 2 titanium, which makes it very, very light. And I have to say, when you pick it up for the first time, if you're unfamiliar with handling watches which are made of titanium, you're going to think to yourself, you know, crikey, I've picked up some sort of plastic watch. It is so light. But that's the beauty of titanium. You know, it's long been valued and favoured in the aviation industry because it's a very, very light material, yet it's as strong, if not stronger, than steel, and it is generally impervious to corrosion of any kind. I can't understand why more watches aren't made of titanium. It appears to be the perfect material for wristwatches. And certainly in this Pelagos, it feels so very right. And it's so light as well. It's remarkable. The watch itself comes in 2 configurations when you buy it. So it'll probably come, if you buy it in that fashion, on the titanium bracelet. It's got an oyster style bracelet made of titanium. And it has the wonderful Tudor T-fit clasp, which is an on-the-fly micro adjustable clasp, which means you can adjust that bracelet to fit you at any time. So if your wrist swells up in the warm weather, as it is here in the UK right now, you can cinch it out a little bit. In the winter, when your wrist reduces in size, cinch it down, no tools required, perfect fit every time. But also, when you buy that watch, it comes with a second option, complimentary, free of charge, included in the package. And that is a black rubber strap as well. So you've got 2 looks with the same watch, and it's not costing you any more. Perfect, I think. What did I tell you? All satin finish is that titanium, so it looks like a utilitarian watch. There's no polished edges or facets, which makes it look very workmanlike, I think. But where they've gone a little bit more interesting, on the dial. So on the dial of the normal Pelagos, it's a flat black or blue dial. In this Pelagos 39, it is a black dial at the moment. There's no blue available as yet. I'm sure that will come in the future. But that black dial has a sunray satin finish, so it's almost unnoticeable when you pick it up, but it's got the little sun rays emanating from the center point of the dial. It adds a slightly different dimension to the piece. And the remarkable thing, first time I've seen it in a wristwatch, the bezel insert is black. It's black ceramic, but it also has that sun ray effect carried on as well. So it emanates from the dial, this sun ray effect, and you also see it in the ceramic bezel insert. And when you look at that, it has a slight shimmer to it. I've never seen it before on a watch. Certainly when I had it in my hands and I looked at it, it was the most fascinating aspect of the aesthetics of this watch, that shimmer in that sun ray effect on the ceramic bezel. Very, very interesting. Now, another thing that they've done in the design of this dial, and many people will appreciate this, is they've removed the date window. There is no date complication available on this Pelagos 39. It really brings it now into the category of, say, the Submariner no date, which I own myself. I own one of those models, and I appreciate it because it is classic symmetrical beauty. And I know a lot of people who really like dive watches would always argue, what does a dive watch need a date complication for? You're never going to be timing your dive using the date. And I agree entirely, hence my purchase in the past. But when you looked at the old Pelagos, the original Pelagos, I should say, not the old one, you would think to yourself, what's that date complication all about? Does it need it? They've rectified that, and in this new Pelagos 39, there is no date. So you've got that clean, symmetrical dial, which for me sings out with a natural beauty. So basic specifics you want to know about, it's 200 meter water resistant. This is important because the standard Pelagos, it's 500 meter water resistant. This model, just 200. It's the same as the Black Bay Heritage range, same as the Black Bay 58 range. So makes it much more, appropriate. Let's be honest, who's going to 500 meters, over 1,000 feet? It's not something we're going to do. I think that 200 meters is more than enough. And that's how it's so slim. Obviously, the watch is only 11.8 millimeters thick. If it were 500 millimeters water resistant, 500 meters water resistant, it would need to have a much thicker case. Hence, I'm quite happy to trade off those 300 meters of water resistance for that lovely slim case. Also, what else can I tell you? No helium escape valve to worry about the watch either. It doesn't affect it in any way. What else can I tell you about the watch? Looking at that dial, which is obviously what most of us will do when we look at a watch, it's an important thing, it attracts us to it. It has got those telltale signature Pelagos square indices, hour markers, and they are made of pretty much solid luminescence. So you get this amazing luminescence with Tudor watches. I've got a Tudor Black Bay GMT, and I have to say, you know, its luminescence outshines my Rolex watches, much greater in its appeal and its readability at night, and this watch really has that, as you would expect. It's got that snowflake hand on the hour hand and the second marker, so again, emblematic of the Tudor range. Very, very attractive if you like that sort of thing. I know not everybody enjoys that snowflake hand. Looking at the dial, what do we see? Well, there's one less line of text than on the standard Pelagos model, so it's a little bit less wordy, which many people would suggest is a positive, because that Tudor Pelagos with 4 lines of text, it seems excessive. On this one you get 3 lines of text in white and Pelagos picked out in red. It is very much a lovely contrast. That little bit of red plays with the black. It's very, very nice, and as I say, slims down the number of lines of text as well. Inside this watch beats the, let's have a look, what is it? It is the MT 5400 movement. It's a Tudor movement, and it's the same movement you will find in the Black Bay 58 models, which are made of gold and silver. So, you know, 70 hours of power reserve, and all the other, you know, usual things which come with that. It's COSC certified, so you can expect -2 to +4 seconds of accuracy per day. So very, very capable watch in every regard. So those are the specifics, that's the aesthetics. What are my views of it? What was it like handling it and putting it on the wrist? Well, I have to say, I loved the sun ray dial. It was very interesting to look at. That, as I say, there was a sort of living shimmer when I looked at it in normal daylight in the authorized dealers. It was very, very attractive. When I tried it on my 6.5-inch wrist, today I'm wearing a Rolex GMT Master 2, the Pepsi model. I took that watch off, 40mm piece. I put on that Pelagos 39, and you know what? It felt like a breath of fresh air, because it was even more proportionate for my wrist than this 40mm Rolex GMT Master 2. That 39mm size with a nice thin case and so light. It really would be a watch you could wear all day, every day, not the merest hint of fatigue. You would suffer, I think, if you wore this watch in that manner. For me, yeah, absolutely glorious, worked well. I'll be honest with you, when I had a chat with the authorized dealer, sales agent there, he was saying they'd been overwhelmed with interest. There were 2 people in the store immediately before me asking to see this demonstrator piece. It was almost continuously being handed to people to look at. And within a few minutes of trying it on, I said, what's the availability for this piece? You know, how do I get one? And he said, well, actually, we're not expecting it to come through in huge numbers. Certainly there won't be any watches available until October, November. The watch I looked at today was a demonstrator, you know, a genuine actual working watch, but one which isn't available for exhibition only. So I did go ahead and I did put my name down on the list, I'll be honest with you, because, you know, if I change my mind or something new comes out between now and whenever that watch is available, obviously I can make a different decision. But I loved it, I liked the look of it. It's a watch I could imagine wearing every day, and it would be a wonderful daily wearer. Tough, robust, and 39mm. You think, what's the difference, you know? The original Pelagos was 42mm and quite thick. This feels like a totally different watch, and of course in many respects it is. What Tudor have done here is taken their technical diving watch and they have neutered it to a degree. They've created a boulevard watch, as I like to call them, a cafe culture watch, which I don't think any serious diver would consider going into the ocean and going diving with this watch now, this Pelagos. But, you know, it's a watch which I think will have much more universal appeal within the ordinary watch-wearing world than that old Pelagos, which I think used to be favoured by the same sort of people who would consider, you know, a Rolex Sea Dweller, a watch which is really ensconced within the diving world. This watch, this Pelagos 39, is now mainstream, and Tudor have really, entered the 39mm world, and they're now owning it, I think, out there, making watches which are going to fit and feel great on so many people. In fact, when you look at the press images of this Pelagos 39, you can't help but notice that they heavily lean into the fact that there are a lot of women wearing this watch. And, many of the images that they've released show a female wearing the watch in glamorous clothing. And, is that necessary? I think pretty much any dive watch can be worn by anybody. We will be entirely honest with each other though, and we will say that it's probably mostly men who predominate within the dive watch market because they're larger watches and they tend to favour people with larger wrists. And by and large within the population, we're talking about men. However, with this watch being 39mm and made of titanium, meaning it's incredibly light, I think it will definitely be attractive to people, females, who may not find traditional dive watches something in their orbit. This will be something that they will consider because it's different. It looks different. I think it looks rugged, it looks tough. I love the fact it's made of titanium. I love the fact that I think this is a watch you could strap on and you can do anything with it. And as I said, I've put myself on that list, and yeah, we'll think about it if they ever give me a call. So there we go. That's my thought process and the pleasure which I've had today on trying on that Pelagos. Pelagos, incidentally, the Greek word for ocean or high seas, if you're interested. So I think Tudor have done well for the 10th anniversary sort of piece that they've brought out for their Pelagos range. And I think they're going to drive a lot of people through the door of their boutiques and authorised dealers by releasing this watch just about now. Goodness knows what Tudor have got next for us, because they are just unleashing watches on us in 2022. It'll be very interesting to see if there's anything else to come. We wait with bated breath. So, hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, give it a thumbs up, click the red button if you want to see more. And of course, if you would like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, and you will find the link on how to do that in the show notes below. So until the next time, take care of yourselves, wear your watch with pride and passion, and it'll keep you well served in respect to telling the time. Take care, see you soon.